Hey folks, Gene Kowalski. Again, another installment on my PBS 2.0 instructional series. I'm calling this one the favorite or ideal trip method. So, as I looked at the calendar for March, it sets up beautifully for a pure schedule. Basically, in my fleet, I can do 4 trips. I like flying late in the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, are generally my days to fly. So I can fly the 4th through the 7th, 11th through the 14th, 18th through the 21st, 25th through the 28th. And that works pretty easily. And what I'm going to do is then I'm going to not fly uh, any carryout. I'm going to stop my bidding basically here on the 28th. I'm going to say no banned trips past the 28th at about 10 o'clock in the morning. And what that'll do is it'll give me what I call a pure schedule, a beautiful schedule, 1 flight a week. And I can even repeat the type of trip to try and add consistency to my life. But the point of this bid is a pet trip. My son is going on spring break on the 6th, and he and his buddies are trying to get to Geneva on the 6th. So when you're looking at a pet trip, so I'm going to show you on the reports tab what this looks like. So if I go to this bid group 1, here we go. So this would be, if I was number 1 in the domicile, my ideal trip. Here is the trip to Geneva on Friday the 6th. Couple of things about pet trips. 1, you can choose this favorite trip if it doesn't screw everything else up. And as it turns out, this particular trip makes the rest of this beautiful. 2, a pet trip should always be something you can hold. Friday trips means that you're working Saturday night. By definition, that is the most junior trips in the domicile. The most junior trips in the domicile are people working from noon Saturday to noon Sunday. Why do I say that? Because I've helped people for years on trip trading, and if you've got a trip that touches that evening, nothing wrong with that. You better pack your bags. You are going to go. So that's fine. I don't mind doing this trip. And it sets up beautifully for my typical Honolulu either on Wednesdays or Thursdays. So this is a very, very good bid for me. But I can't always guarantee that this is what I'm going to get. So by the way, real quickly, I went into the bid package. The only one of the Friday Genevas went senior to me last month. The other 3 went junior. So this is a really good trip to try and target. So what if I don't get that? Well, what you have to do is you want to force a bid. So I designed this forced bid right here. So bid group 2, I called it low Europe test number 2. And what I did here was I forced PBS to give me, through the scoring system, I forced PBS to give me a lot of Amsterdam trips. They don't pay very well. And when that happened, look what happened. It said, dude, to do that, I no longer can give you that pet trip. I've got to give you a lower value Honolulu trip that I also locked on those days in order to make the minimum credit time work. Well, perfect. Now I know my solution. Based on my seniority, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one Sao Paulo right here, this bid group 7, and now I'm in. So this one shows that if I had one Sao Paulo list, or one Sao Paulo trip, I can still have my pet Geneva here on the 6th, a low time Lisbon, a low time Amsterdam, I still have the minimum credit time. So now it works. So that's essentially it. Find out, is it a trip you can hold, and how much horsepower and bidding time are you willing to waste on trying to get this thing? Now, again, I might not get this. So if I go to my trip pool, it reflects that idea. So if I go to my trip pool, current bid, I'm going to go here to a mid. This is a few. So now here I'm up to 13 here. Notice what I've got here on this. Let me move this over so I can see it a little bit better. So I've got Honolulu on the 5th in H2. Here's my H5 Geneva. Remember, I tend to reserve H5 for an absolutely gotta wanna have it trip, which is what this is. It'll show up in every bid group. And then I've got Zurich, Rome, and then some of these later in the next week showing up. So I've got backups. If I go further down the list, I go down into, let's say, bid group 9, then you can really see that I've backed up that trip here in the beginning. Move this over again so I can see this. All right, so there we go. So I've got my H5 trip on the 6th, but I've also got an H4 Zurich, got an H3 Rome. So I'm starting to back it up. I can't assume that I'm going to get this trip, so I've got to have alternatives. And as I go through my bid package, there's more and more and more alternatives. But my bid is lining up quite nicely for these late in the week periods to fly, which is what I like to do. So that is really all I wanted to show you today, is that if you're trying to do a pet trip, you're trying to get your absolute best trip, determine if you can hold it, try and design a trip pool bid that will allow it to always flow through and give you that award. Make sure that you have enough flight time if it is awarded. Have backups so that if you don't get it, it'll still award a calendar that you can live with, and maybe you can trade for it. So I've got some things in here like Zurich, Geneva, and Rome that I could trade for this trip if for some reason it's not awarded in the initial bid group. And again, the beauty of a pure schedule. One trip a week for 4 weeks. This month, the March month, sets up beautifully for 0 carryout for me, because what I'll do then in the April bid month is I'll be bidding hard to fly a trip on the 1st or 2nd, the Wednesday or Thursday as the month starts. Keep the questions coming in the comments. I really love the feedback. Hoping to try and get at least one bid video out a month to try and illustrate a little bit different technique. Enjoy and have a good time with the bid.